Good morning everybody and welcome back to the channel where today we've got a very interesting topic to discuss. Today I want to talk on the future of a brand new era for the LEGO company. There is a solid chance that we may start to see LEGO The Legend of Zelda sets either this summer in 2022 or in the very near future. Therefore I thought it was time, as somewhat of a LEGO Zelda supporter, I guess, and someone that's made over 50 custom sets based off this partnership, I thought it was time to bring you my official predictions for what I think the LEGO Legend of Zelda partnership could look like when it eventually happens. And that's right, I'm saying when it eventually happens because I'm pretty sure it's going to, unless they've got some sort of weird aversion to making money. And the reason it's time to bring this up because we know that there is a new LEGO theme coming in the summer or fall of this year. And also there is the new LEGO Games line. So we've got two possibilities where the LEGO Legend of Zelda license could show up, and I want to talk about both of those today. So starting with LEGO Games, this is a weird one because the LEGO Games line seems to be more of an eclectic mix. We've already seen images for the Overwatch 2 Titan, and also the rumours of the Horizon Zero Dawn tall neck, which suggests that the LEGO Games line will be a lot of different games franchises. Now, while I see some Nintendo IPs being possibilities to appear under the LEGO Games headline, I feel like Nintendo's sort of that company where they don't like to share some of their big stuff. And I know obviously they've given out stuff like Zelda to the people that made Crypt of the Necrodancer to make Cadence of Hyrule. However, with such a big license, I don't see them wanting to just partner with LEGO for a one-off set. However, you never know, I've been wrong about these things before, and this is all speculation. So if we saw a Zelda set and just one set, which is all we'd get under the LEGO Games line, I think it would be similar to the one you have on screen now. The Guardian attack, which was Z0011, it has its own dedicated video on the channel, and because Breath of the Wild and Breath of the Wild 2 are currently relevant and trending, I think this set would be most likely to be the most iconic thing to come out of that game, therefore the Guardian. So I'd expect a small mid-range set, £40 to £50, containing a Guardian build and maybe a small Ruin side build with Link and maybe one civilian on the side, and I reckon that would be it. Unless it sold extremely well, LEGO Games would just get one LEGO Legend of Zelda set, and that would be it. The license would fade into existence, and we would have Nintendo's lack of control to blame for that. However, as I mentioned, Nintendo's sort of the company where I can see them just going no, and only giving some of their smaller licenses to games and forcing LEGO to do a full line just like they did with Mario, because Mario is not being rebranded under the LEGO Games line. Let's make that very clear. So let's look at the new possibilities for a LEGO theme. Now, I think it goes 50-50 here, and 50% we just get Breath of the Wild sets, or 50% we get sets based off the colourful amalgamation of the entire 35 years of history. Now, that's very scary, because it is a genuine possibility that we only ever see Breath of the Wild sets. Because Breath of the Wild is good. Now, don't get me wrong, it's not traditional Zelda good, but it has stuff like the castle, the Hinox, the king, the divine beast, all would make great LEGO sets, and you should check out the custom sets that are relevant to that here on the channel. But this is better. It's so much more colourful, wacky, creative and varied, and much more exciting. And just like the Mario license, where we've seen stuff from Mario 64, the 2D games, the 3D games, nothing from Odyssey yet, but we've had almost everything in between. It's so much more colourful and so much more Nintendo, and that is where the synergy between the two companies come from. There's synergy between the LEGO and the Legend of Zelda, and I've talked about this in many other videos where I try and justify the partnership between the two. However, the colour that makes that license work as such a rich LEGO property is going from all 35 years of the games. So, let's talk about those options in more detail. So in the case of a Breath of the Wild only wave, it could either be Breath of the Wild sets, or they could just tie in with the release of Breath of the Wild 2 later this year, and therefore just give us Breath of the Wild 2 sets, which obviously I can't predict because we've seen basically nothing of the game. However, I think the trailer cave would be a really strong example based off this figure that I've drawn here. I think the cave is probably going to be playing an important role. It's really iconic, and that bridge segment is something I'd absolutely love to have displayed. So I'd like to predict the trailer cave if we had a Breath of the Wild only wave. I'd also obviously have to predict Hyrule Castle. I think that while I've said before that Hyrule Castle isn't necessarily the pick for the first wave because of how long they waited on Peach's Castle, I do see that even if it didn't happen with the first wave, we will get a Hyrule Castle if we had a Breath of the Wild wave or a normal sets wave at some point. So I think the Hyrule Castle Sanctum is probably a large choice here. And as mentioned before, even if we didn't get a games line, I think we'd still get a Guardian in a Breath of the Wild only wave. It's just such a playable object and so iconic for people of almost all ages. And then something along this line as well, so more of a playset style build, something similar to this where you take one of the big three land bosses, the Hinox, the Talos or the Molduga, and put them in a bit of a landscape set and make a £70 playset out of it. Very similar to this Hinox Beach Rampage that is on your screen right now. So sort of like a larger playset, but apart from that, Breath of the Wild's really a bit sparse for sets. I mean, there's some bits you can do, but the last one I wanted to bring up was the Master Sword pedestal, which could either act as a set or as sort of like a gift with purchase for the wave, a bit like the Monty Mole and Super Mushroom Surprise, I think the Mario gift with purchase was called. But this would act as sort of like a small desk display piece. It could either be 18 plus, a small normal playset, or yeah, like I said, a gift with purchase, which is interesting. However, this is where it sort of gets iffy, because I think the Master Sword pedestal is like our most likely set to ever see if we ever get LEGO Legend of Zelda. Super, super iconic. It can come with a variety of minifigures, and it can based off almost any of the games. We could see the Master Sword pedestal from the Temple of Time. We could see the Master Sword pedestal from the Sacred Grove from Twilight Princess. We could see the Master Sword pedestal in Under Hyrule in the Wind Waker. We could see the Breath of the Wild one, which I personally think no matter how many games they represent, they'll probably choose the Breath of the Wild one for the Master Sword pedestal, like even if we got a full wave based off normal stuff. Or we could indeed see the Goddess Sword and Sacred Flames from Skyward Sword as well. However, I think the Breath of the Wild one is just the one that is most likely, and I've done a custom set of that one here. And moving into the rest of the Zelda wave, I think it's incredibly likely that if we have Zelda sets based on all the games, then one, they will probably be designed by this man here, Wes Talbot, because he was the designer of one of the more iconic of the LEGO Ideas submissions made back in the day, the Iron Knuckle Encounter. And as a fan, he made this, and now he works for the company. Therefore, we have a Zelda promoter inside the house, and I think that's really, really important. But also, because he's on the design team, or at the very least to pay homage to him, there will be a set based off Iron Knuckles for Ocarina of Time. I've said this before, I really, really do think this is likely. It's a great set concept, and if they're going to do it, I do feel like we will see Iron Knuckle Encounter as a set, or very similar to this, appear in the LEGO Legend of Zelda line. I think this is a really, really strong prediction. Let me know what you think of that one, though, down below. I also think we will see some sort of interpretation on a gimmick. Now, whether this gimmick is similar to the one I've created with these dungeon-based sets, where you have dungeon rooms that can be rearranged, or if it's some other gimmick like making like Loftwings fly with like Ejitsu spinners, or it could be something really, really random. Basically, I'm thinking some like collectible thing just along the lines of the power-up suits for Mario, where it's this gimmicky thing on top of like the main line of sets. Now, I chose the dungeons because I think it's the best way to represent such an iconic part of the Zelda experience, the dungeons, in LEGO form. However, it's no guarantee that they have to pick this. I just reckon that there will be some sort of gimmick and some sort of dungeon representation. Next up, I think it's very likely that we'll get a polybag. Now, I've chosen to use my Cuckoo's Nest polybag here as a representation. However, I don't believe that this is necessarily what we get. I think we just how many polybags the Mario line's got, and now most lines get polybags. I really do think we'll be seeing some small Zelda polybags, probably without figures, probably with other world building elements, just like how the Minecraft one has like a turtle and stuff. I think this is probably the place where we would see like Cuckoo's or like Din's Pearl, or something that's massable or just collectible in the polybags. I also think if we're having a mixed Zelda wave, the King of Red Lions is almost a lock. He's a brick-built companion, but he's also a boat, and he's also super iconic. He's probably the most likely out of all of the companions to be included in the sets, although I can see them including Navi in a similar way to the axolotls from that recent Minecraft set. That would be pretty cool, having a transparently float over his shoulder using the DC superhero pieces. But I think the King of Red Lions is a lock for the LEGO Zelda line if they do a mixed Zelda wave. Also a lock would be dragons. LEGO loves making dragons, and while Ninjago sort of fill that niche for them, I can very much see us seeing one of the dragons on your screen right now. Either Naedra from Breath of the Wild, Volvagia, Argarok, or any of the dragons from Skyward Sword are all great candidates for a Zelda set. I think the Skyward Sword dragons are less likely, and if they were going to do one, of course it's going to be Farron, but I could definitely see them doing Naedra, Volvagia, or Argarok in a mixed Zelda wave, and I think they would be a shame to miss one of the dragons from the Zelda wave, although I'm not expecting all of them. And another thing I think we'll very clearly see, possibly under 18 plus style box art, would be the mixed the Fairy Fountain, and I can either seeing this being Breath of the Wild or Ocarina of Time. It really does vary, but the only way I think we'd see it would be if it was in a mixed Zelda wave. I don't think they'd waste a Breath of the Wild set on just a fairy fountain. In my head, I'd like to see a 2-in-1 that you could convert between the two. But I think that while they're not the most iconic areas, there is a very iconic piece of music, and the fairies are a big part of the Zelda games. Therefore, I think it would be very silly for them not to make something off the fairy fountain. And bearing in mind, these are just my initial predictions, but I think fairy fountain is a really likely pick for a LEGO Zelda lineup. And finally, I think we will see something along the lines of a battle pack. And while they probably won't be branded as battle packs, I definitely think we will be seeing small, like £20 monster camp sets, which could technically be expandable with like monster enemies, except for I reckon they'll probably include Link as well. However, there'll still be medium army builders, and I reckon that these will probably be based off like almost the whole game franchise, but their most iconic and most like fully fleshed appearances are in Breath of the Wild. And I think we will definitely be seeing like a Bokoblin camp like sneaking, or like Lizalfo's monster camp like invasion or something, where you've got like a Hyrule soldier, or you've got like Link trying to get to a treasure chest or something. Just sort of like a little small like environment build. I can definitely see that happening in either a Breath of the Wild or mixed Zelda wave. And that ends my predictions for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this look into what I think will happen with this partnership, and I've really tried, no matter how wacky I've gone with my custom sets, to pick the stuff that is most likely. You'll notice a couple of like significant absences, like I didn't talk about the idea of an 18+ Hylian shield, because I do think that might be slightly off the table. While it's definitely a possibility that LEGO could do later down the line, I do not think we'll be opening the LEGO Legend of Zelda line with a Hylian shield, nor a couple of more wacky concepts. As much as I love Digilink, he's really not a high likelihood, and the Monk Maz kosher is also cool, but definitely not a first wave thing. But I hope this gets the point of how much we need LEGO Legend of Zelda and how much content there is. And if you're interested to check out any of my other custom set ideas, all of which are based in the foundation of reality that could possibly exist in some alternate universe, I'd highly recommend checking out either Custom Set Wave 1, 2, 3 or Custom Set Wave Digilink. They've got a lot of different content in there with a lot of other ideas, and maybe one of those will be what you would like to see in the future. They're all on your screen now, so just pick a video that takes your interest. But in the meantime, let me know what you would hope to see in the LEGO Legend of Zelda custom set waves. Try and leave it a bit more realistic, and we will be returning next week with our custom set finale for Wave 3 with the Hyrule Botanical Collection. Have a great day, and I'll see you soon. Bye bye.